Good afternoon, and welcome to Jeff and the Rabbi. I just wanted to open up the whole J&R audience now. I am completely 100% guilty. I admit to all of it. I should have known better. I showed horrible judgment, and I am thoroughly embarrassed by my appalling behavior and transgressions. After consulting with my family and local clergy, I've concluded that my conduct and demeanor have shown utter disregard for the sensitivity and powerlessness of those around me.
You're talking about last week's intro?
Oh, that too. That's in here.
Yeah.
But I beg all of the people who have put their trust in me, I beg their forgiveness and their unabridged mercy. Now that fancy worded and somewhat equivocal apology should grant me full clemency for most all types of immorality, impropriety, and malfeasance I see fit to carry on in the foreseeable future. According to many of the talking heads in the news media, just offering an apology should grant you a full reprieve for whatever damage your arrogant and power-wielding habits have caused. So I figured, if I just offer up a full confession for the stuff I will probably do in the future, I will have a coveted free pass for every immoral and shameless act I can come up with. Perfect logic, right? So I thought, well, it must be right because Senator Franken of Minnesota just got called out for groping a woman, and he made an honorable admission and apology to his victim and the country. Well, maybe not that honorable. There did happen to be a photograph of Nasty Al actually groping the woman, so maybe his admission was not purely based on principled nobility. At the same time, we have Judge I Love the Minors Moore from Alabama being called out by multiple women for assaulting them in their teens. The judge vehemently denies these accusations. The question is, will Senator Grabby be better off due to his forced apology than Judge Juvie with his denial? Get it? Judge Juvie? Pretty good there? Judge Juvie? I like that one. I made that up. Or the more important question, will Al be allowed back in the Senate before Roy is allowed back in the mall? I am so confused. There is evidence that both men could be persistent power-pushing predators, but one could be judged less harshly for confessing and asking for forgiveness. I am definitely a lot more bullish today on my promises of Malibu groping rehab stock. I can tell you that right now. So, Rabbi, can you help us through these murky matters of molestation? Is it okay to cop a feel if an apology grants you an appeal? Top that, Rev Sharpton.
Oh, man.
There we go.
That's like from the Muhammad Ali school.
That's like Rev Sharpton. Rev Sharpton taught me that.
Yeah, ooh, how do you like that?
So what do you think? What do we do?
Well, you know...
I'm sorry, by the way, for that introduction, Joe. I'm just going to apologize.
Yeah, just apologize right now, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, you know, I see, like, so far I've noticed we've got Democrats and Republicans. This seems to be the unifying issue that's bringing together both parties.
Thank God we found something.
We found something that seems to be that men of all parties can unite in, and that is, you know, their poor behavior and the fact that they can't keep their hands to themselves.
Right.
Yeah. The only difference that we see so far is that the Republicans seem to be deniers and the Democrats seem to be apologizers.
Well, it could be because, and I'm not going to say the Republicans are smarter, but when I go a groping, I leave my iPhone at home. I don't take pictures. I just think it's best not to take pictures with your Minolta there. I mean, just some advice from the Jeff and the Rabbi show.
We'll have to wonder about like where that picture came about.
But okay. What are you thinking? But anyway.
Yeah, so the deal is, like, you know, for the deniers, you know, what can we say? I mean, there's really not too much to talk about. You're denying, and either you did it or you didn't do it, you know. If you didn't do it, like, all power to you, just keep denying. If you did do it and you're denying, like, what can we say about you? You'll get it one way or another. You know, you'll get your comeuppance somewhere along the line. But it's the apologizers that actually, to me, are a little bit more interesting.
Right.
Because it seems as though, because they're understanding, sensitive people and respect other people, that they're doing the apology thing. Now, apologies in our contemporary society have turned into almost an art form. And the Torah does value apology greatly. If anyone's going to repent, you have to make amends to the person that was hurt.
Right.
But it seems as though the apology, the official statement, has become acceptable as the official amends. And what this really is saying is that the whole thing is actually a media circus. But it's really not about the poor lady out there that was abused or groped or whatever. And it's really not about the guy. It's just how all this plays out in the media circus.
So bottom line, you need a good PR guy, is what you're saying, and you start from there. That's the first thing you do.
So this is the whatchamacallit, the scandal has exploded on you.
Right.
So you huddle with your guys. You
Right.
figure like, what's going to be our official response? I think I just heard that today's response from the most recent episode from Senator Franken is he feels he's sorry if anyone feels hurt by anything that he did.
I like that.
Now this is very interesting. He's sorry. He feels bad about that. If anyone. Now he didn't mention the woman's name. Anyone. That's sort of like.
Well, it could also mean there might be some more people coming.
Yeah, right.
It might be it too. But
He's not getting into like
Right.
anyone. If anyone feels hurt, in other words, like I didn't really do anything wrong, but you felt hurt. See, you felt hurt. I didn't really do anything wrong, but you felt, and I'm sorry that you felt hurt. Right?
I get it.
About something that he did. Now he did something, but you chose to feel hurt by that, and he's not taking any real responsibility
You're
for
hurt.
that.
Hey, I'm sorry.
But he feels bad that you felt bad.
I understand.
Right. But he hasn't done
I gotta
anything.
write this down. I gotta
Yeah.
write this down too. This is good stuff.
Now, is that really gonna pass muster? And I'm really sorry that the answer is no. No. As far as the Torah is concerned, making amends, as a matter of fact, as far as the Torah is concerned, if someone did a crime, a despicable crime, a disgraceful crime, they actually should not publicly confess the crime.
Wow.
You know why? Because by publicly confessing the crime, you actually magnify it and you actually normalize it.
Right.
But the more that you say, that when the guy comes up and he says, I committed adultery and I did this and I did that, right? That means it just makes it more and more acceptable. The more that it's actually pronounced and someone says that they did it, it brings it more in the realm of actual acceptable conduct, even though you're saying it's bad, that every time you actually mention it, it just brings it more into the realm of acceptability.
So is it better just to say it depends on what the definition of the word is? Is that better? And just don't even admit it.
What someone has to say is that I am going to speak to the person who I have harmed,
That would be better.
and that's all I have to say. From here on in, you'll talk to the person that I harmed. I will take care of that person. That means he's got to go on his hands and knees and crawl over to that person and beg that person's forgiveness. He's got to do it in such a way that that person feels that he is truly hurt, that he is truly regretful, and that he's truly making amends. After that, there's nothing more that he can say. He didn't hurt the public.
So you making that big public display of look how good I am apologizing is not what the Torah is requesting.
As a matter of fact, it really just
It's the opposite.
undermined
Wow.
it. What he should have done is he should have said, when it came up, he says, good point, I'm going to speak to that person. Then the press could have run over to that person and say, did he speak to you? And that person could have said, yes, he came back, and he really was crying, he really felt remorseful, he really offered to pay me a whole boatload of money, whatever it was that he did, but let that person talk, because he didn't harm the public. He harmed another person.
Wow.
And this is being played out as a public media circus when it really has nothing to do with the public. It has to do with individuals. So if if the judge, and in any of these cases, if the judge, instead of denying, if Roy Moore would just, get in touch with any of these people and say, you know what, I was really like a 30-year-old creep, and since then, matter of fact, I think someone said that he was actually a Democrat at the time.
Oh, well, there you go, right there.
He could have blamed it on that. He could have blamed it all on
I
that.
had a conversion. I'm a
Right.
Republican now.
I've seen the light. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
He's got to go to the people, and all of this is being played out as a media circus. Where do you first? It explodes on a person. Everyone's waiting for the guy when he walks out the door. All the and then he's got to make his statement, and then he's got to talk in front of the public. He's got to be there with his wife, and hopefully the wife will be supportive of him in one way or another. And it all plays out in the Stand By Your Man and however they want to do it and everything. But it really is absolutely missing the point.
Well, because it's interesting what you say. I mean, I've heard on one of the talk shows that, and the lady was condemning Judge Moore, and they said, what about Frank? I said, well, that's different. He apologized. And he really got to it. But what you're saying is, well, he really apologized to us, I guess, for getting caught.
Yeah.
I mean, he did apologize to the victim of this crime. And
Mr. Franken apologized to me.
I accept your apology.
Please, I don't need your apology.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I would ask a question. If you really feel bad, why do you apologize now when you got caught? If you really felt bad, at some point between 10 or 20 years ago, whenever you did this thing, you would have gotten in touch with that woman, and then you would have apologized to her. I don't think that he has apologized to her even till today. I haven't heard from this lady.
I don't know if he's actually physically caught. He might apologize to her in public.
He apologized in public to her. Why didn't he? The lady, she's not hard to find. She has a talk show in L.A., right? She's probably easy to, if he really wants to, he could call in on her talk show and apologize to her, right? But if he would do that, see, the problem is, the reason why not doing that, because all these apologies, if you look at the careful crafting of the word, he doesn't look the victim in the eye and accept responsibility. So what he does, he says, I'm a real sensitive guy. I have apologized. So the whole thing is really phony. It should be, if you feel I'm exposed, you're right, I'm going to make it good. Making it good means you got to go to the person that you harmed and make it good. And there's no other way around that.
You actually have a good future as a PR guy here, because not just is yours maybe the Torah correct way to do it, but it actually probably would work.
Yeah,
and truthfully, people might actually say, you know what, we haven't heard this before.
And let's say instead of hearing Franken apologize, we heard the lady in L.A. say that Franken apologized. Would that shock the world?
It really would.
Say he's in touch with me, and he really expressed his remorse, and I truly believe that he is remorseful. That's it.
It would make a difference. I guess the real point is maybe he's not really remorseful, or maybe he can't even sell that as real remorse, or as you say, you don't want to look her in the eye.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier to look the camera in the eye and tell the public I've harmed you with your trust, even though you really didn't lose my trust when I really trusted you to begin with, but it was really her. It's an interesting way.
So I have to take it one actually very cynical step further, and that is that the reaction of the person who's accused is really to play to their power base. So Roy Moore knows that his power base needs to hear him deny, and then they can support. Because if he admits, then they can't support.
Right.
Franken knows that his power base needs to hear him apologize, then they can support him. So he's just playing to his power base. As long as they hear him apologize, that's what they needed to hear. But in either case, it still is phony. And because it takes it a step further. All of this, on both sides, evangelical or feminist side, everyone is really out after their own party. This goes back to the Clintons,
we know that.
right? Ever since, the fact that the evangelicals don't call out Roy Moore for doing something that is clearly against the Bible should not be a surprise, because the feminists didn't call out Clinton for transgressing their Bible, which,
right.
The most powerful man in the world takes advantage of a young introvert.
The interesting thing about the Clinton thing, I think that's probably the most important part in what's going on today. Now that the Clintons are finally out of the picture, Hillary's gone, she's not running. Now all of a sudden, everybody's kind of, that Bill Clinton was a bad guy, and they're apologizing. And the funny thing is, I was listening again to the TV talk shows. they're calling out Bill Clinton now, which of course, as I said, is amazing because now that Hillary's gone, why not 1 year ago when she was running for president did you not do it? But not just that, and their excuse was, but we can't judge people today by the standards back in the 90s. And I'm saying, well, what about the 1860s? We're tearing down statues of presidents and generals, and because what they did in the 1800s. But you can't judge. I don't remember. I was just a wee lad back in the 90s, barely out of preschool. But I do remember that groping, rape, and child molestation was not a cool thing back then in the 90s as well.
You're talking about the 1990s. When you're talking about those monuments, you're talking about the 1890s.
1860s, 1890s, 17. George Washington, Christopher Columbus, they're gone. They're taking down the statues. Right. But we can't judge people by how they acted in the 1990s.
Right.
So it is interesting that, I think you made the best point, with the left, right now, you're right. Give me an apology. Just give me an apology and we're fine. That's why, by the way, if you want to make any movie or get any bill passed, you just got to go to rehab facility somewhere because they're all there somewhere, serving their 1 week time they have to do. Right. But on the right, listen, I can't hear it. I can't hear that they did it wrong.
Right, that's right. You see, the evangelicals won't let him go.
Oh my God!
If he says that he really did it, then they really can't let him go because he's a sinner, and then he's a hypocrite and everything like that. So he doesn't really have a choice. So in order to play to his base, he's got to deny everyone. But the bottom line is, both sides need to hear from their candidate what they want to hear in order to keep promoting their candidate for their particular agenda. And again, that's why this whole thing there's nothing sincere about it, and that's why it really is not going to help the state of respect of women, of children. No one is really going to get improved from this because it's not playing out for real. It's playing out as a political media circus, and therefore no one really is going to come out any better from all of this.
Well, and I think you're right, but I think it all sides it's not real. I don't think it's real on the, forget about the media, but the feminist side as well. I mean, I know you talked about it a little bit. I don't even know if this is really a man versus a woman, if this is a feminist issue. I know they like to make that. I mean, the point, I think what we see about these people, when we were talking a couple of weeks ago from Hollywood, and now we're talking about in politics, it's really power-hungry people. I think when you're power-hungry, I guess you can't really be in Congress these days. It's not like, who was the guy Jimmy Stewart, who went to Congress. Okay, he was Mr. Smith, went to Washington. Right. That was back in Robert Freeman's time, not in my time. He was there for a good cause. I went to Washington with him. He went with him as a lad. But I don't think it's like that anymore. If you go to Washington, if you run for president, if you run for senator, or if you are in Hollywood, and I know how it is in Hollywood, it's not really about women and men, it's about power.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, you can't really apologize for something that you deep down feel. Right. You want power. And it doesn't matter if it's a guy or girl, or it doesn't matter if it's taking advantage of another company, another person. It's power. So that apology is not really going to work.
So that's really why the senator, if the senator gropes, particularly now the most recent one is that the senator groped someone after he was a senator, at a certain point there's a certain sense of entitlement. Having gotten to this powerful position, this is what I'm entitled to do. And, I'm powerful enough that I can do this. And of course you'll like it because, and I kind of understand it. If you like me so much that you want to take a picture with me, then I'll give you a little bit more of me. I mean, you want to stand together with a picture of me, and you want me. How about me giving you a hug? Well, if that's how much you want of me, I'll give you some more of me.
Well, I agree, and I think it's probably not really a sexual thing. It's a power thing. Because you get young child star. I think Justin Bieber, for example. You have people screaming your name over and over again. Same with the senator. Same with any other kind of movie star, male or female. How can you expect at some point, especially I don't know what their background is, what their upbringing is, every actor in Hollywood, every one of them said, okay, I did it, I'm sorry. Well, at some point, maybe if you idolize so many of these people in society so hard, so strong, eventually they believe it because you believe it.
Right.
So, you're right. You want more than just a photo.
Right. And I really, I do think, though, that none of this should be misconstrued. Any of the apologies or anything should be misconstrued as being for real. When we talk about making amends means I have to go to the other person and I have to find out what will make you whole. if I caused you damage, I have to repair the damage, if at all possible, and then I have to show you. So let's say I damaged you, if there's some physical damage, I got to pay for it or something. Got to take care of that. And then after that, how were you hurt? What will make you feel that whole again? And my contrition, that means I really have to go to the person and I have to sit there and I have to listen to them. I have to say, I'm sorry, tell me how I hurt you. Tell me how you feel. And I have to listen to them and I have to appreciate them and I have to give them credit. I have to repeat it to them that this is what you're telling me, and it really hurts me. And if you haven't been able to convince that person, try harder.
So what you're really saying is it is more difficult to get full atonement from God than it is from CNN.
Yeah, if you hurt someone else,
really,
you've got to get atonement from that person before God will listen to you. After you've atoned to that person, then you have to turn to God and say, okay, God, I've straightened it out with that person. Will you forgive me now? And God hopefully will say yes. But if you haven't straightened out with that person, God says, why are you talking to me? Just like, why are you talking to the public? Why are you talking to me? There's that person there. You've got to deal with that person. You cannot overlook the person.
See, that's interesting, and I think that's what's been missed in this entire 3 weeks, which is going to go on to be 3 months, because this is not going away soon. I think everybody in the whole world is going to have a Me Too situation. And the main thing that's really been missed is anybody talked to one of the victims. Has anyone had a conversation and really been sorry? And I think you're right, no. And I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, because that's not what we're requiring in the world. We want to see you out there being trite to the public. Read your script that you were given by whatever agency that gave you the PR agency, and then you should be fine. So I guess
I would really like to see someone say, what I did is between me and that lady, and I'm going to go try to fix it up. I'm not going to say anything more. If you want to talk to her, she can tell you. But I can't tell you anything more because I have nothing more to offer the public. Everything I have to give, I will now have to give to the person I harmed.
Harvey, Louis C.K., Dustin, Al, Judge Juvie, if you're listening, this is free. You don't have to pay for this. And I tell you what, I think this might work. And then you settle with a woman and you settle with God. Not bad. That's a twofer. All right, we'll see you next week. Maybe we'll be back with more of this because there's a whole more 7 days. So there's a good chance there could be a whole new scandal to discuss, or maybe it'll be something totally different. So stay tuned. Sit on the edge of your seat. We'll see you next week.